Hello friends and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick and today we're going to be checking out Find Me a Good One by developer Hika or Heka Games. I'm not sure quite which it is. It's a surreal puzzle platformer with a very cool art style and a pretty simple premise in that we'll be exploring a surreal environment looking for some dream characters to help out our character's brother who seems to be getting some kind of nightmare. So let's look at the credits real quick and then we'll get into it. Not a whole lot of people involved here, but did some very nice work. I did actually play through this whole thing. It's a very short game, unfortunately, but what's here is super cool and definitely deserves to be on the show. So why don't we give it a start here? Let's give it a try. Alright, so we spawn in a rather elaborate-looking kind of fancy building. We're told we can press Z to jump, and we can actually stand up on top of this picture frame, which seems to be showing some fruit of some kind. And over here, we've got these very strange sort of Neon Genesis Evangelion-looking eyeball diamond creatures who seem to be flying through this locked door, who I'm going to assume, or which I'm going to assume is this character's subconscious. These are the negative thoughts flying in to badger this person who's trying to sleep, and eventually they suck the person in. So I guess there's sort of an undertone that maybe we're sort of keeping the character's sanity by defending their dreams or something like that, although I'm not entirely sure if that is necessarily implied. But then we're taken over to another screen where we're told we can press X to advance dialogue. So there's really only a couple of controls here. Arrow keys to move, Z to jump, and X to advance dialogue. Says it's okay, time for bed. Really? Good night. Fine, good night. You know, all my friends get to stay up much later. And off to bed we go. So, just as we saw in the last scene, the evil dream creatures seem to be coming in through the door again. And in this case, we now play as this character down at the bottom, and we're going to be jumping around to try and find a path for this happy little bird fly thing to make its way over and hopefully help out our brother. So what we're going to be doing, or at least I think this is our brother, that's what it said on the website anyway. So we just need to match up the doors, which is super simple in this case since the character is just sort of copying, mirrored movement from what our character is doing. And that will allow us access to this area here. We can press X to open door, and you'll see the last little flying angry critter thing seems to be still targeting our large sleeping friend here. So let's go through the door, and this takes us to the main meat of the game, which is a very surreal environment, and one that I'm quite fond of, in fact. We can press V to see the bedroom in case there happens to be more of those evil nightmare creatures showing up, and they will actually show up after we touch and interact with certain things. So there's some things that are good, some things that are bad, and there isn't a ton of rhyme or reason to it, but I kind of like the game for that reason. So you'll see if we bounce around on these gradated heads that seem to be split up sort of like the horse from Cell, they actually tend to send more of those creatures back, and I kind of don't want to encourage them necessarily. But there's some other things that we can perhaps take a look at, and that'll just find its way to the doorway, right? There it goes. Over here, we've got this area full of levitating spheres, and if we ride these up, we can actually get up to the top where there seems to be a crown of some sort. But if we let these shoot out for too long, well, we're just going to get a whole assortment more of these nightmare creatures, and we definitely don't want that to happen, as I'm sure you know by now. So there's some very cool visual things going on here, all of which are very abstract and very surreal and very strange. Well, not really so abstract, just surreal. But they don't really tend to flow into each other with any particular reason that I can tell. But I think that's sort of a hallmark of this art style, and I think that's totally fine. Some very bold colors, and I kind of like how that contrasts with the character who's a little bit more sketchy. So this friend that we found down here in the bottom left says, "Hey kid, do you want to come with?" Sure, why not? And this presents us with one of the few puzzles. In this case, the way we move our character is going to determine the way that this character moves as well, but along a different axis than we had on the prior one. So we're going to be jumping up in order to get that character down there, and then hopefully things will just sort of work themselves out. And if we do well enough, this character should hopefully ward off the rest of those creatures. Now, the thing is, this game's sort of funny in that if you do too well, you can actually clear out all of the creatures, and if you don't do well enough, you can actually fail the game, and you won't, yeah, so the character says thanks, and that's kind of the end, right? So if I wanted to, I could have normally kept exploring, but since I've sort of accomplished my main goal, that's just sort of the end of the game. But there were other puzzles to see, or I guess I should say there is one other puzzle to see, which I guess I'll just go back and do real quick. It's unfortunate, though, that each time when you go to do this, you've got to start over at the beginning again. Not because this is a particularly long sequence or anything, but it just sort of breaks up the continuity, because, I mean, I would feel like most people would want to see the entirety of what's on offer. And I really did enjoy walking around in this map, so it's just a shame that it ends so soon. But I do kind of like, I got this really sort of a strange feeling from playing this the first time, because I did the same thing that I did just now, where I sort of was successful without realizing that's what I was setting myself up for, and then when I went back to mess around with it a little bit more, I found that I'd actually set myself up for failure, and when failure happens, I actually ended up having the character in bed be removed from the bed, and the game just says press escape to quit, but still lets you walk around if you want. There's just no reason to, so it's very melancholy and actually quite creepy and a little bit depressing when that happens. It's sort of like you got sucked away into your dreams, and you're not really sure to the degree that the game is being sort of metaphorical, or if something really bad just happened to this child. So I don't know. All in all, it's got this sinister vibe that's sort of sitting right underneath the surface. As you can see, I mean, there's things going on in the backgrounds that you're not even really sure exactly what they are. But that's sort of a hallmark, again, of like the surreal tendencies of something like this. You just can't really tell what level of creepy versus cute we're living in, I suppose. Really, really like the colors down here, too. It's like this moss or algae hanging off these rocks and some sort of cavernous background tiles with pretty blue circles emanating from them. And then we find this character down here, sort of like a Zen basset hound or something, with some fairy wings. Hello, friend, do you want to come with? I would love to, it will be wonderful. Everyone has such a happy attitude in this game. So the thing about this character is, seems to fly for a short amount of time, then falls back down. And if I time that just right, I should be able to manipulate this character to sit up onto these rocks. It's not particularly difficult or anything. I guess that's another factor of this, is that none of it is particularly difficult. It's just sort of a nice, contemplative, slow experience, and if you want to, you know, take your time and walk around, you can certainly do that. I just wish there was more to see, because we sort of reached the borders of the world already, and once I reach the edges of this puzzle, or once this character gets to the large basset hound fairy-shaped door, we will have hopefully solved the game again. Well, hopefully not solved the game again, but I think that is what's going to happen regardless, because I didn't really incur the wrath of any more of these nightmare creatures. Yeah, so it just does a big clap, and I believe we've saved the day again. Thanks. So I could see, like, it would be really neat if this was a big, expansive world, and there were, like, 50 of these little characters to meet, and a whole bunch of different things you could interact with that would accidentally trigger the creatures to come out. But, you know, that is not so much the case. It sort of feels sort of like a proof of concept in this case, and that's totally fine as well. It just feels like it's really ripe for exploration and further development. Also, when you experience the fail state, this character that you're seeing here, sort of like a bird with eyes all over it, you know, on the title screen, comes out and tells you, like, you kind of ruined the game, you can't finish it, and it's just sort of like a really creepy kind of downer moment. So, you know, nice juxtaposition. I don't know what you guys are going to think about this one, but I love the art style, and I thought it was definitely worth showing off. I'm kind of curious to know what, if anything else, there is to find, so if you guys out there want to go download this, the link's going to be in the description. Feel free to let me know if there were any other hidden secrets. Like, I'm not sure what the point of that crown was. Maybe that does something. Maybe if I wear it in the right spot or do the right thing with it, maybe it would open up something else. Or maybe I could use it to interact with those split-up heads in the top right corner. I'm not sure. But feel free to experiment and walk around a little bit and let me know if you discover anything. So again, that is it for another day, guys. It's been a short one, I know, but this one is just too cool and strange to pass up. But let me know, of course, if you have any suggestions for games that are sort of similar, in this similar vein anyway. I have my plenty of lists of places that I go to look for games, but unfortunately, freeindiegam.es is no longer in operation. That was one of my very favorite sites, so it's I'm very sad to see that one go. But I do have plenty of other backups. But, you know, I always am taking suggestions if you have one that feels like it's sort of within the realm of the stuff that I tend to cover on the channel. Just, you know, let me know in a comment, or if you want to send me an email via the contact form on the website, that's all welcomed as well. But yeah, link's going to be for this game if you want to go download it in the description, as well as my other social media information is going to be in there too. Feel free to just pop by and say hey. If you want in the comments, let me know what you think about this game. And of course, like I said already, suggestions, comments, criticism, that's all welcome. And please be sure to come back again tomorrow. New episodes go up every single day. So if you're a fan of strange and experimental and artistic and unique indie games, this is hopefully the place for you. So consider subscribing. It helps me out quite a bit. But I will see you back again tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic night. Talk to you later.